live from Dunamis Church. This is Today at Dunamis, and we have a great show for you today. I'm your co-host, Ed, and this is going to be a great show. There's some great content coming up, but now let's get the host in here, Shaun. Hudson!
Today, to talk life at Dunamis.
Woo.
Hello, Ed.
Hello.
So this is
Shaun.
an interesting program today.
We have a very jam-packed of entertainment, fun, and dare I say, maybe one of our more controversial episodes.
Controversial. Okay, that'll be new for us. So I was just reading the heading on our post, and it says here, on today's episode,
Yes.
I am taking the political compass
Yes,
test.
we are doing the political compass. Well, you are, Shaun. I've already done it, but
So what is a political compass
the political
test?
compass test is a series of questions that you have to answer either with agree, disagree, strongly disagree. And it's a series of statements to do with the economical and social stances of politics of like a country. It's not like these grandiose questions like if 72 shipments of cargo comes from Asia, what should be the tariffs? It's not that kind of stuff. It's just what do you think about these certain topics on these certain ideas? And it's just whether or not you agree, disagree. It's a good visual to show where you sit politically, either how extreme you might be, how centralist you might be. I got an example of what the political compass is actually.
Yep, let's have a look at the example to help our viewers and listeners understand what we are endeavoring to
So
do.
this is the political compass. It is split in two axes, an X axis and a Y axis. The X represents what your stance is economically. So over here is the government is 100% in control of the economy. Over here, this is more of like a libertarian stance. This is more like the free market is in control of the economy. Somewhere in the middle is a balance between the two. Now, top represents the social scale. So that means how much freedom do people have? Just basically how society is treated and looked after. And the idea between this is that it gives you a visual representation of where you stand, because you can see at the top here, we've got authoritarianism. Down here, we've got libertarianism.
So just going on that area, so you
Yeah.
have the authoritarian versus fascism.
Yes.
So, of course, who are you classifying as an overall example
And
of being a fascist?
the idea of a fascist is, which I actually have on the other side. On this side, I have examples of different people on the political compass. So you got up here, you got Hitler, who was the leader of the National Socialist Party during World War II. Then we have some other people, like over here. We have, this is the general area where conservatives would be. I got on here the Republicans. You could also say this is where the LNP would sit.
So those who are American
Yeah.
or Northern Hemisphere, if in Australia we refer to the word liberal,
Yeah.
we're not talking about libertarians. We're
Yeah.
talking about our conservative party.
Our conservative party.
Our conservative party here is called liberals.
Liberal, yeah.
Okay, different to what the United States
Yes.
would think.
We got centralists over here. We also have Marxism over here. And up here is communism. Whoop, I'm looking at myself.
Actually,
in
you have
reverse.
Stalin.
I got Stalin. So, that's where communism is. It's an extreme version of government control, authoritarianism, and they're in complete control of the economy.
And then looking at the libertarians.
Over here, you have someone like Ron Paul. He's pretty strong with libertarianism. I know he's an American, but if you're a libertarian, that's where you'd be. And down here is one of my favorite political ideologies, which is anarcho-capitalism. Anarcho meaning anarchy, meaning no government, but it's controlled by capitalist systems, meaning big businesses just have monopolies on stuff, and the whole world's controlled by monopolies.
So
it's really fun.
Do you have any background on Ron Paul?
I know he
I
was...
see you have Gandhi on the left, libertarian.
Oh, yeah, that was just an example of someone who was in the green quadrant. Where my finger is... Oh, here. Yeah, here. This is where the Greens are. They're pretty extreme. This is why no one votes for them too.
Well, I mean, in our state elections, it looks like they're going to get a couple more seats than they'd normally have.
Really? Oh, that's disappointing.
Well, we know that in Jackie Trad's seat,
Yeah.
okay, it looks very much so that, well, I'd say it's pretty much 100%.
Oh.
Because the only reason why the Labor Jackie Trad won has because the LNP, Liberal Conservatives,
Yes.
had preferenced them before the Greens. But at this point, they're not doing that. So there's no chance of the LNP winning it.
Yep.
And I'd say that Jackie Trad will be out.
Oh.
So it comes down to which one do you dislike the most?
Yeah.
So for this election, the Conservatives dislike the Labor more than they do the Greens.
Oh.
We'll see if that makes or breaks us.
Yeah, legit.
But we'll see.
Yeah. So the political compass test is a series of 100 questions in this case. The reason why it's 100 questions because the official political compass test I find is a bit biased and it leans more towards liberals. So it phrases its questions very much strongly towards more like a Labor leaning or a Democratic leaning, where this one's a lot more neutral and it doesn't like frame its things as conservative bad, liberal stance is good. It's a lot more neutral in its questions.
Okay, so should we pray or do we just get started?
We can pray or get straight into it. Let's pray. We need it.
Okay, God have mercy. Okay, so let's go ahead. Now, I just want to tell the audience that I have not read or pre-done any of these questions.
Yes. Now, the goal is that, Shaun, you're a conservative, correct?
I would like to think I'm a conservative.
See,
yes.
my hot take is I think you're fiscally a conservative.
Okay.
I don't know if socially you're a conservative, which is this is a very controversial hot take.
Well, yes. I mean, compared to some of my friends in America,
Yes.
I would hold a different view on some. I feel like in America, and especially with the Fox News media, which I would follow more than CNN, sometimes they would irritate me. There used to be a guy called Bill O'Reilly used to irritate me sometimes because he would classify all socialists as communist. And even though Australia is not registered as a socialist country, we certainly lean to certain aspects of socialism.
Yeah. Well, you look at Medicare. That's technically a socialist idea
in regards to health and also
to
unemployment.
Health, unemployment. Yep. We have welfare.
Okay.
Yep.
We have it in regards to the new babies that are born.
Yep.
We have it in regards to grants in housing.
Yep. Schools to a degree.
What are we
it's
giving?
free.
Like $25,000 to first home buyers.
Yep.
We have it in regards to pensions versus Social Security.
Yep.
Where their Social Security is they're paying a tax towards it.
Yep.
Our pension is just a government subsidy that's done. I mean, I know those are pensions that we've been paying tax all our life, but this is a separate thing.
Yeah, separate thing.
Medicare levy, so all those things. So, okay, I understand what you're saying. I understand. All right, well, let's get into
let's get into this. So, whenever I give a statement, you either say you're neutral, agree, strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. Now, whether you agree or disagree will move you on the compass. I currently cannot see it either because I don't want to have any biases towards it. So every time I ask a question, you say you agree, disagree, strongly, or strongly. And you can be neutral, but you know, Shaun, no one likes a fence sitter. So, so let's get straight into it. All right, first question.
Okay.
Each individual enjoys bodily autonomy and have rights that no other individual group may violate. Do you know what body autonomy means?
All right, clarify it for me.
So body autonomy is the right for a person to govern what happens to their body without external influence or concern.
All right, so this will particularly go in the argument of abortion.
Yes.
Okay. This is a very thing. I saw one person who used to be in the youth group when I was the youth pastor in America.
Yes.
Lovely young lady.
Yes.
I haven't seen this young lady for 28 years, but friends on Facebook, and obviously she is a strong supporter of Biden and Harris, which I'm not an American to vote, but I don't support them.
Yeah.
And she put up a post saying that we need abortion because lives are saved. And my argument to that is that nowhere has pro-life been able to stop a life being saved from a medical emergency.
Yeah.
So that's an incorrect statement. So I'd have to say in that context of what you're asking, I don't agree.
So disagree. All right.
I disagree.
All right, next question. All fully formed individuals have the freedom to decide what they knowingly and voluntarily consume.
Okay, say it again.
So all fully formed individuals, so you could say an adult, have the freedom to decide what they knowingly and voluntarily consume.
Yes.
Yes.
We do have that choice of freedom. I believe in democracy.
Yeah, I believe God gave us the freedom to choose, and I don't want to take that away from other people.
I believe the greatest gift God gave us is the freedom to choose.
Yeah.
Now, some people say it's the cross, but I say before the cross is the freedom to choose.
Freedom to choose, yeah.
You know, and that's why when people say, why is God doing this to me? Well, it's not God doing it to you. It's the choice you made.
Yeah, it's choice you made.
You want the freedom to choose, but you don't want to experience the consequences.
Exactly.
So I believe in the freedom to choose. Yes.
Exactly. Okay. Slavery can be an acceptable practice in certain circumstances, such as punishment for crime.
No.
Okay, here's a funny statement I saw. Living in slavery is better than starving to death. Slavery is a useful form of punishment. You still disagree?
I don't believe slavery works. Now,
Yeah.
if we go back to the Old Testament, because
Yes.
some people misunderstand the Old Testament versus the area, and I've heard people misquote it. So if you would have read what Moses wrote in the Old Testament, it had to do with debt,
Yeah.
paying back debt.
Yes.
It was only for like a 7-year period.
Yeah.
It wasn't indefinite. And if a slave who finished their term wanted to be a slave for life,
Yep.
it was called a love slave, and they would have their ear pierced.
Oh.
That's why when I tell people if their left ear pierced, they must be a love slave, saying that they have willingly given over their rights to be in that house or that full service.
Yes.
But no, I don't believe in slavery. And and when it comes to hardship or being impoverished, I believe in the biblical stance
Yes.
of how we need to look after. So it goes back to the illustration. We're never going to get through these questions, so I keep talking. But it goes back to the illustration with Ruth.
Yes.
And where the word of God said, which Boaz adhered to, that when they reap the harvest or glean the field, not to go back and pick up that which has fallen, and not to glean to the very edges, to allow the poor or the needy to be able to get food. So, you know, I think that you'll always have poor. Jesus says you always have the poor.
Yes.
But it's the poverty that they don't have to be in. There can
Yes.
still be a basic area being looked after. So,
Yeah.
But I don't believe in any form of slavery.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Even if I was dirt poor on the street, I still have freedom.
Yes.
Where slavery, I'm thinking about chains.
Yeah.
And,
You're not free.
No rights. I
Yeah.
can't walk off the property.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe in slavery at all
Yes.
in any form.
All right. Cool. Also, anyone, we can see the chat now. So hello to people. Josh Nagel. Hey, Josh. Hey, Jaya. Thanks for joining us. Next question.
Is Josh up in the mines? Imagine he's in the mines.
He might be.
Yeah.
Freedom of expression should be unhindered by laws, regardless of the content or context.
Yeah, that's a great straight. So we're talking about freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech.
You know, it's a touchy subject.
Yes.
Okay. You know, and I don't know if that answer is that easy to come about,
Yes.
to be frank with you, because I believe in the freedom, which I believe that in many ways, some areas we're being hindered in our freedom of speech.
Yes.
I think that, as we've seen lately, things like Twitter and Facebook
Yes.
have been hindering freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. Yeah.
Where they proclaim that, but they've been certainly hindering it in certain things in the American areas,
Yep.
or because they have a political bias.
Yes.
So, but I do believe that when it causes anarchy
Yes.
and with property and things like that, then I believe that there needs to be some sort of boundary.
Like accountability.
Accountability. Okay, that's probably a better word, accountability. So I'm saying to certain degrees. But how do you judge that or rule that? Because, you know, I believe in the right as a minister to be able to proclaim my faith and beliefs.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then there'll be some who say, but it hurts others. So it's a fine line, because if you write in the law that says, well, there's certain restrictions, they can come back and bite you. That's what the Democrats are now trying to say towards the Republican with the appointment of the judge.
Yeah.
Even though, in my opinion, the president did everything that was within the right of the president, because he was still serving his term.
Yes.
And according to the Constitution, is the right, but just because it doesn't suit the opposition. So I really believe it's a touchy subject. So what are my choices in answering this?
Strongly agree, neutral, disagree.
I'm going to go agree.
Agree?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, next question. Some forms of expression are offensive, such as hate speech, and therefore should be banned. I should mention, sometimes there'll be a follow-up question to a question that we just answered.
Yeah.
So
again, I'm going to say this. What is the definition? I can't answer that without the definition of hate speech, because seemingly right now, if I posted a simple scripture that any sexual immorality, which would include acts of homosexuality or any sexual sin, even if in that same sentence I included the term being unfaithful to your wife, sex outside of marriage, adultery, and if I said fornication, which is any sexual sin, adultery, as well as homosexuality, and if I included all those things equally, just because I mentioned one word, say homosexuality, I'd be classified as working on hate speech. So I'd have to say in this area, I'm going to have to disagree. Yeah, simply because it's not defined enough.
Yeah, it's not defined enough. All right. Political authorities need to control communication to prevent the spread of ideas that threaten society. So we're talking about the control of information. Should it be regulated as it is right now, or should it be more stronger, controlled by the government?
I thought these were easy questions, Ed.
These are great questions.
Because I can't tell you I strongly agree or strongly disagree.
Well, look, you can be neutral.
And let me tell you why. Again, it comes back, I don't want government having so much control.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, I want government to interact.
Yeah.
So if I have things happening on there with the Islamic extremists, I want the government to interact and stop. But I don't want them raiding the media or the
like Fairfax or Channel 7 or ABC.
What do we call these people? The reporters.
Reporters,
I don't want them raiding their house and breaking into the areas. So it's like, how do we balance this out? So it's a hard thing to do. It is. So I agree and disagree.
Neutral?
Yeah, neutral.
Okay. Provisions of the internet should be monopolized by political authorities and made available for free. So internet becomes a utility. What do you reckon?
Well, to me, that again breaks away from business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if I do believe in business opportunities.
Yeah, of course.
And if the government is going to monopolize and control it, then I'd prefer, as they do, they own their own areas. Like they're supposed to own ABC and SBS.
Yeah.
But it's so left-wing.
Yes.
It's not balanced. So... and so if they are an example of that, it's a problem. Now, then again, we have like Channel 10, which is a TV station that's been bought out by the American CBS.
Yeah.
So now if CBS is anti-Trump, now Channel 10 has to be anti-Trump.
Yeah.
So I find it really difficult. Although I was watching the Fox News.
Yes.
And I did notice that in all of the speeches they had today, I noticed that whether it be Trump, who had more than anybody else, 3-1, then there was Biden, there was Obama. They showed every single speech entirely. They showed all of Trump's, they showed all of Biden's, and they showed all of Obama. Whereas on CNN, they skipped Trump. They don't have him in.
Yeah.
So it's, ultimately, the people have to choose what they want.
Yes.
So, for example, with Facebook and Twitter.
Yes.
I call them Twitter. There should be a way and say, if you are going to hold a license in this area, then it needs to be balanced.
Yes. But just remember, we're not talking about social media allowance to the internet. We're talking about, should you and me have access to the internet free of charge? Because it's become like a utility almost.
I don't know how to answer. I have to go neutral. Because how can it be free of charge? That's like saying, do I have the right to watch TV with no commercials? Well, that's why I pre-record stuff, because I hate commercials. But the fact is, they still have to make money.
Yeah.
And we want them to improve their equipment. So I'm going to have to be neutral.
What about water? Do you think we should be charged more for water usage?
I think water should be regulated.
Yeah?
So in the context of this, obviously there's infrastructure, there's dams.
Yep.
I'm a strong believer of water should have been many, many years ago brought down from North Queensland. We have an overflow of water.
Yeah.
Should be brought down, and it would take care of all of our water needs.
Yes.
It not only take care of us, but also New South Wales. And you take the Northern Territory and all those, it take care of the area. So I think that there has to be some sort of charge in regards to infrastructure, but I think that the problem is with government overspending and not keeping things. So, for example, why are we still paying the luxury car tax, which only came in when we had an actual Australian manufacturing?
Yeah.
The Australian manufacturing stopped several years ago, but the luxury car tax is still there.
Yeah, true.
Where is this money going?
Exactly.
Now, they're going to say roads. Well, are you serious?
Yeah.
So the problem is that they would tell us it's used for the areas, but it's not regulated. We need an outside regulator, I believe, who is not to do with the government or business, that can say unfair. Look at petrol. So should companies better make petrol or not? I mean, there's certain problems.
Okay, so it almost sounds like you disagree with this. So there should be some sort of like private sector competition with it. So kind of like as it is right now.
Well, but look at the private sector promised to us electricity.
Yeah,
when
true.
the state government owned it,
Yeah.
it was way cheaper.
Yeah.
But I think it was under Peter Beattie. When he brought in the other companies telling it would be cheaper, it's doubled, tripled, quadrupled, 10 times over. So, this is the problem, I suppose, I have compared to the American areas.
Yeah.
There's a part of the government control, you might call it a little bit of socialist,
Yes.
that I like because it helps the people.
Yes.
So like Medibank Private was originally owned by the government.
Yeah.
They sold it. Telstra, our phone, was owned by the government.
Telstra,
they sold it.
Sold it.
Sequeb, Southeast Queensland Energy, was owned. They sold it.
Yeah.
So all these things was owned by the government. The Commonwealth Bank was owned by the government.
That's right. Yeah.
And home loans were like 1%, 2% after World War II. They sold it.
Yeah.
So the problem is, it's fine if the government, until they can't do their budgets, then they sell these things and we can't get them back.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So the issue is there has to be a balance of the two. So I'm going to be neutral.
Neutral. All right. People should be free to engage or abstain from religious activities that do not violate their rights to others. Agree?
Yep.
Yep. Nice and simple. Blasphemy laws should be brought back or strengthened in order to protect religion from its enemies.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I know the Muslims they don't need laws. We take the example of France right now, where there's violence and huge outcries because of some.
The teacher who got beheaded, I believe.
Well, no, it's about the cartoon that was originally done.
Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah, and about how the president of France hasn't supported the Muslim community, which I think on blasphemy as they should. So there's the riots. I heard it said, if you took the Quran, and you handled it in a way that was judged as being disrespectful, then you would expect retaliation.
Yeah.
Whereas Christians, we realize that our Bible is our guide and our lead, but Jesus is the living word.
Yes.
And you can take my Bible, spit on it, burn it, do what you want, but you can't touch my word because Jesus is the word.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to react in that area. Yeah. So I think there has to be a mutual respect.
Yeah.
I believe in respect for our flag.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be burned on this thread. I believe in respect for each other's beliefs.
Yeah, exactly. Respect. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe in a respect.
Yeah.
Okay. But I just get nervous with all the laws.
Yeah.
Well, and let me tell you, Ed, because there's ramifications. Because then if I was holding a seminar and that seminar was non-Christian religions, which could include everything from Islam to whatever else, then all of a sudden I could be taken to court as it happened in Victoria.
Yeah.
And yet these same groups could do anti-Christianity things. And I'm going like, well, go ahead. If you want to do an anti-Christian thing, go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to react in this way. So I just get scared of government. I'm scared of too much government control.
Me too.
I'll be frank with you. I get scared that I believe that government is meant to be here to protect us, help us.
Yep.
But
Protect
it's not
private property, one thing.
But it's not meant to be here to control us and take away
people.
our rights
Yeah.
and tell us how we can think. It shouldn't
Big
be.
time.
Look what's happened in Victoria.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I think what's happened in Victoria is a great example of extremism.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, thank goodness we still have a democracy where we can vote them in or out.
Exactly.
But that's the problem. If you change a rule while your favorite one is in power, ultimately they won't always be in power.
Exactly.
And then you might suffer consequences for rules you brought in. So to minimize government would be the greatest thing.
So disagree?
Disagree.
Disagree.
It's going to be a long time, these questions.
The law should neither favor nor aggress against any particular religion, culture, or creed. Agree?
Agree.
Agree. In the interest of equality, religious organizations should not be exempt from paying their fair share.
Okay. So
here we go.
That's okay. That's okay. I remember some years back, I was a part of, when I was in charge of I was the CEO of a group called CLCI, Christian Life Church International.
Oh, yeah.
And a part of that was the heads or representatives of all of the Spirit-filled, charismatic Pentecostal groups would meet. It'd be at that point, it was the COC, the AOG, Bethesda, Foursquare, Revival. All the groups come together, okay? And one of them, Triple C, one of them said, we want to apply to the government for tax exemption in reference towards tithing and giving. Now, I opposed it.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted it by opposing. And the simple reason that the price that America pays for tax exemption, or they did pay for tax exemption with their tithes, was that the government then said, then you can have no voice in regards to your political affiliation. So, for example, if you had one person from a party spoke, you had to give equal time to the other party to speak on your platform, and the pastor couldn't look to influence. Whereas I believe the pastor is meant to be a conscience of what's reflected in society.
Yep.
Now, in regards to tax break, well, the only thing that we get in America, they would have more of a tax break in their giving, which certainly helps up the church giving. But over here, it's more has to do with tax break in regards to community services. So back when Kevin Rudd, Kevin 07, was Prime Minister, he was talking, and he was supposed to be a Christian, he was talking back then about eradicating, being Labor, church tax exemption. But the argument that came back was, do you realize how much social work the church
does
do in the community? It would cost the government billions to do what the church was doing. So compensating the churches with millions altogether is nothing in comparison to the billions it would cost you to do the job without the church. So in that context, it's a saving. So I don't agree with them taking away the tax covering.
All right. Next question. It is valid to say that if you have nothing to fear, then you should have nothing to hide.
So is that a statement?
If you have nothing to fear, you have nothing to hide. As in kind of like, if you're a criminal...
I know what it means, but it doesn't sound like a question. It seems like a statement.
Well, do you agree with it? Or disagree?
Yes, I agree with it.
Yeah, I agree with it too.
I mean, that happens all the way through. I mean, as a church, because we're incorporated, we are audited. And that audit costs us between $22,000 to $25,000 a year. These are non-Christian or that do nothing to do with our church, their company. And a copy of that audit is handed over to the government authorities. And the members of our church every year gets a copy of that area of our accounts, our finances, and what's happened. Now, I know a lot of churches that used to be connected with others, they don't do that to members in the church of it available. But we do that because there's nothing to fear.
Exactly. So transparency is valid, is a vital ensuring the accountability of institutions, political or otherwise. Agree?
Yeah, I agree.
In fact, do you strongly agree?
I strongly agree.
Oh, yeah, let's go. All right. The surveillance powers of political authorities should be expanded to combat terrorism and other threats. What do you reckon? More government control. Disagree?
No. I can't say it totally because the Logan City Council, way back when Pam Parker was the mayor, had CCTV camera. We have one out by the church.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When we had that break-in with Matthew Patterson. And when Shane was on the phone with the police, they were watching us on the camera. So I have seen it work to help. There was an incident when Pam Parker was mayor. And she was in Logan, down at Logan City. There was a lady who worked at McDonald's, went out there, and she was raped and killed. And it wasn't general knowledge about the CCTV in that area, but it was because of that CCTV, they're able to find out the evidence and arrest that guy.
Agree.
Well, again, it comes back to this, Ed. If you've got nothing to hide,
nothing to fear.
You've got nothing to fear.
Which is why when I did this personally, I wouldn't agree.
So do I.
Let's go. All right. People should be secure in their persons, homes, property, and communication. Agree?
Yes. Now, the big question is, do I have the right to defend my home?
Whoa, don't worry. That question's coming up. Don't worry. To solve crimes, the police need the power to conduct their affairs without consent or a warrant.
I don't agree, no.
Disagree.
Disagree.
Sexual orientation, preference, or gender should have no impact on the treatment of individuals by the law. So I went strongly agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Political authorities should have the power to define, license, or restrict personal relationships.
No.
Yeah, right.
Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree. Yeah. Consenting adults should be free to choose their own sexual practices and personal relationships.
There still has to be a boundary because I don't believe in pedophilia.
Oh, yeah,
And there are groups who are wanting to lower the age of consent. There's
Yes.
groups who want to lower it from the age of 16 down to 14 and 12. And so obviously there's regulation there.
Yes.
So it's a tricky question.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say I strongly agree.
Yeah.
But the problem is that there has to be some sort of regulation as to what is acceptable. Now, I know back in the days when the Joby Jacob Peterson was premier, it was against the law to be homosexual. In fact, if you were deemed to be homosexual, you'd be arrested. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah. That's how it was there.
Yep.
Now, I have people who I know who are homosexual.
Yeah.
And it's not about, I don't, and I'm not supportive of homosexuality because of my beliefs in the Word of God. It's not what I've said, it's what the Bible says.
Yes.
But I don't believe I have the right to force it on
Yeah, to
people.
force it on people.
So I don't believe in having a law that I can't celebrate it,
Yeah.
but my job is to reach out in this time
Yes.
To people. So I don't want to see them not have health.
Yeah.
I don't want to see them not, have the area. Someone said to me, am I against gay marriage? Well, the key word here is when the Pope of late said, he didn't say he supports gay, this might be controversial. Am I allowed to be controversial? He didn't say, in my understanding, he supports gay marriage.
Yeah.
He says that he could support gay union.
Yeah, gay union. Yeah.
Okay, which means a separation of the church for that area.
Yes.
So when our government did the vote on permitting gay marriage, sure, I didn't vote yes, I voted no.
Yeah.
But when it came in yes, I didn't get upset and cry.
Yeah.
But what I don't want is that ministers somehow are penalized because of their faith in not doing gay marriage.
Yeah.
So I believe that people have the freedom to choose, yes.
Yes.
But I also believe there has to be some form of regulation as to what is acceptable in society, and that has changed. So you might scoff at me and say, when would the age of consent drop down to that? Well, in America, it's not 16. As far as I understand, it's 18. Erica, you're American. It's 18.
Yeah.
So in America, it's 18. Here it's 16.
Yeah.
So Americans would find it disgusting that in our nation, we have the age of consent at 16.
Yeah.
So there are people at work in government and judges and other areas who want it lowered down to 12 and 14 right now. So there still has to be some form. So I'm going to
disagree.
I'm going to have to come in the area saying, ask the question again, I'll give the answer.
Consenting adults should be free to choose their own sexual practices and personal relationships.
I can't answer it.
Neutral?
Because the question's not specific.
Yeah, it's not specific enough.
So because it's not specific enough, I can't answer it. There's an area I believe in the freedom to choose, but I don't believe they can say the government has no say because there's a safety mechanism.
Yeah.
So I can't answer it.
All right, neutral. Let's go. Access to abortion should be regulated by law in order to reduce or eliminate the practice. So I'd probably say agree.
This is again a difficult thing because I deal with people in abortion all the time.
Yeah.
As I had mentioned earlier, whether it be in America, here, or any civilized country, when it comes to the idea of saving the life of a mother, it has never been under question. A doctor can make that area to save the life of a mother.
Yeah.
So my reaction to abortion is not in saving the life of a mother. That's between, and I've known areas where mothers have given up their life to give birth to a child, and others haven't. What I would strongly say is I disagree with government funds being used to pay for abortions.
Yeah.
Whether that be our Medicare or anything else.
Yeah.
If this is something people want to do, I don't agree with it, but it should be at their own expense and to their own doctors.
Yeah.
If it is a life-threatening situation, the law is and always has been there to protect them in that area.
Yeah. So this is all about regulation. Do you think the government should regulate it? Yes?
There should be some form of regulation. I'll just say agree.
Agree.
Not strongly, but agree.
Yeah.
There's going to be people out here who hate me one way or the other.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, I believe in choices and consequences.
Yep. All right. The scope of criminal laws should be limited to violations of the rights of others through force or fraud. So this is going into the question of if there is no victim, has a crime been committed?
So repeat the question.
So the scope of criminal laws should be limited to the violation of the rights of others through force or fraud.
I need you to define it a bit.
All right,
more.
so let's talk. So, like I said, this is going into the idea of if there is no victim, has a crime been committed? Perfect example: marijuana, the smoking and the
well, there is a victim. It's A, their health. B, it is also them affecting others. Schizophrenia and everything else.
That's the argument of is possession and the consumption of an illegal substance like marijuana. There's technically no victim, but there is.
Yes. So I agree. There's a victim.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. Next question. It is valid to say that, and here it is. It is valid to say that when there is no victim, then no crime has been committed.
I disagree.
Disagree? All right.
Strongly disagree.
Okay. Banned medicinal and recreational drugs are a danger to society and should be made or remain illegal.
I believe in what doctors would call medicinal use.
Yes.
So, for example, if there was a plant called marijuana, that was given via a doctor, or medication,
CBD oil,
right? Yeah, and that doesn't have that hallucinating part to it. It can be used. So I think that if it's medical reasons and it's under that supervision, it's good. But I know people who are related to me, who will try and use that argument for medicinal, but they're really talking about smoking a joint, or a cone and getting high, which is still about getting high, which is no different than getting drunk. So I believe that if it's going to be medical, then it needs to be governed by medical persons.
So disagree?
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Police, fire, and ambulance services can be provided exclusively and effectively by the market.
No.
No. People who assume the risk of harm to themselves are a burden on society and should be punished by law.
No, I think they have to be treated as with mental health.
Restitution should be paid to victims or their families at the expense of the criminal or negligent wrongdoer.
Well, I mean, it sounds good in principle, but it's like you get in a car accident and that young person doesn't have insurance. They got nothing. So I believe that there should be and this is supposed to be happening through because there's victims of crimes, which is set up through registration, everything else. So I don't agree that it can be just those people, because I believe this will be also, if you can, so it'd be like child support. So you got a drop kick dad who doesn't make payment. Does that mean that mum and kid doesn't get any money? No, the government pays it. Then let the government then pursue that drop kick dad to get the money. Well, same thing in the accident. If there's some kid is driving a car, it might be a stolen car, and they cause damage or death, then the government's got to take care of that area and let the government chase after those people for the rest of their lives. So, no, I don't agree. It should be just there.
All right. Rights such as due process and the presumption of innocence only interfere with obtaining criminal convictions. I'd say strongly disagree.
Yeah, strongly disagree. Yeah. Are you asking me or are you telling me?
Well, it's just so we can speed through some of these questions.
Okay, I know. I told you. I asked you how many questions. You said 100. I said, it's impossible for me to do 100 questions because I can't just answer it because I got to express my view.
Yes. Juries should be able to judge not just the facts of the case, but also the justice of the law. So should the jury be doing what the judge is supposed to be doing?
No.
No. Free market dispute resolution is ineffective and thus requires a system of justice funded through political means. Okay, so I had no idea what half these words meant, so I had to look them up.
Okay, so let's go through it again.
So, dispute resolution is the process of resolving disputes between parties.
Right.
So, should free market dispute, so issues with the free market when it comes to trade, so when there's issues between two parties doing free trade, is ineffective, so them dealing it themselves is ineffective, and therefore politicians need to get into there to fix the free trade disruption. So government intervention.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. You know what I mean? Again, it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it is.
So I can certainly see where we need it, but I can also see where it can be abused.
Yeah.
I wish the government had the courage to deal with it in the fuel prices.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm going to have to say yes.
Okay. Prisons as they currently exist are a violation of individual rights and therefore should be abolished.
Strongly disagree.
Yep. The only legitimate use of force is in defense of individual rights against physical aggression.
Okay, so does that mean that physical aggression has been done, or there's the intent for it to be done?
Legitimate use of force is in defense of individual rights.
I strongly agree with the ability to defend your
I
home
should be able to
rights.
defend myself, yeah.
But I don't agree with when they're saying equal. So knife to knife, whatever else. I it's controversial. But maybe I lived in America too long, and but I do believe that there is a woman who feels threatened in her own home, someone breaks in. He might have just a knife.
Yep.
I have no problem with her having a gun.
Yeah, well, that goes into the next.
Her using it.
That's the next question.
If he has broken into their house, I think she should be trained.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Don't just have a gun. Be trained in it, please.
Yeah.
Safety and stuff.
So, but it comes back to the gun issue now.
Yeah. No, don't worry. We're getting into that. Don't worry. All people have the right to self-defense, and they may agree to be aided by an other individual or group.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Next one. Individuals do not have the right to own firearms, and it should be made difficult to impossible.
Strongly
to acquire.
disagree. You don't have to say anymore. Strongly disagree.
People.
Now, I don't have a weapon.
Yeah.
And even when I lived in America, I didn't have a weapon.
Yeah.
I have been shot at.
Oh.
And I've had guns pulled on me.
Yeah.
In New Guinea and United States.
Oh, wow.
Papua New Guinea. But I do believe in the right to defend. And I do believe if you feel comfortable with a weapon, you do that. Although I've never owned one, have no desire. But I do have friends and pastors in Australia and in America who own guns.
Yes. People who use violence to defend themselves from physical aggression should be prosecuted.
No.
Yep. No. Property owners should be free to set the rules regarding the presence of weapons on their property.
No.
The law should restrict, register, and monitor the ownership, manufacture, and transfer of firearms and ammunition.
Yes.
Yep. Ensuring that individuals have respect to property rights is fundamental for maintaining a free and prosperous society.
Yes.
Yes, this is one of the few actual reasons for there being a government, is to actually do this.
Yes.
Yeah. All forms of property contracts should be regulated and enforced by some kind of political authority.
Regulated, you say?
Yeah, all forms of property contracts should be regulated and enforced by some kind of a political authority. I'd say yes to that.
Yes, yes, to make sure it's legal and done.
And it's fair. Yeah. People have the right to control and enjoy their property so long as their choices do not infringe on the rights of others. Yeah?
It could be a technical one, but I'll agree.
Yeah.
But I can see some problems in that too. So.
Yeah. The practices of eminent domain and civil asset forfeiture are abuses of political power and that need to be eliminated. So let's talk about eminent domain. So eminent domain is another word to say land acquisition. Is the power of the state, provincial, or national government to take private property for public use. That's what this is talking about.
Yeah. No, they shouldn't be able to take your property.
Yeah.
They should be able to negotiate, but I hear this happened in Sydney where this company's been going for many years flying helicopters and the state government has just forcibly taken their land without giving them anything. Just they could say it's worth this much, but it's not how much it's worth. They need to find a place to replace it of equal use, and position. So I don't agree with it. The big gun thing coming in again.
In order to protect the poor from the rich, limits on profits, production mandates, and control on prices are necessary. No. For voluntary dealings, parties should be free to trade with whoever they want on mutually agreeable terms.
Yes.
Right. Landowners have no incentive to maintain natural resources and as such need to be regulated by a political authority.
I can see benefits, but I'm going to go no.
Okay. No. Okay. To prevent the tragedy of the commons, such as pollution and misuse of resources, all land should be privatized.
No.
Environmental protection requires the natural resources be held in common and private ownership restricted.
Bit more information.
So it's talking about like natural resources shouldn't be given to the government and should only be owned by private companies.
No, I disagree.
Profits hinder the behavioral changes required to protect the environment, necessitating political intervention.
Need more information.
So it's kind of like carbon tax.
I don't believe in carbon tax.
So you disagree with this statement?
Yeah.
Yep. Environmental advocacy and social pressure are more effective means of changing behavior than political action.
No.
Politically funded subsidies for energy production should be abolished, leaving the market free to decide what is best. Yep.
Yes. Electricity, I agree.
Energy pricing, allocation, and production are too important to be left to the market, necessitating political intervention.
Yes, I think the market has the idea of the free market on. So you got to define what is essential.
Electricity, water,
well,
sewage.
But I'm going to go a little further. I think fuel is also essential.
Ooh, okay.
So I think that we have a problem because we had a question back there. Do I believe in the free enterprise of profiting?
Yeah.
The problem is when it comes to fuel, which I classify as it's a basic necessity.
Yeah.
Like bread, milk.
Yeah.
And then there's supposed to be no GST tax on it. So I also believe that fuel.
Sounds a bit socialist there, Shaun.
Yeah. Well, I know, and I did warn you that I do have areas of what I think is fair.
Yeah.
And I think that there are basic things that we need as a society.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And I'm not talking about internet, okay, or TV or luxuries.
Yeah.
But I am talking about what is basics.
Yeah.
So you have basic food groups, okay, bread, milk, I don't know, rice, whatever else is what I call it.
Yeah.
I think water,
Yep.
sewage, electricity. But I also believe in fuel.
Fuel, yeah.
That it has to be at least some form of regulation because it's just too much profiteering on this area.
All right. People who think they are entitled to keep what they earn are being selfish and should just pay their fair share.
Let me go back to the fuel. By
the fuel one? All right.
How much tax do we pay per litre?
Oh,
like
geez.
60
it's
cents?
Like, something massive.
60 cents?
Yeah.
Out of $1, 60 cents?
Yeah.
There's something criminal there.
Yeah.
That's government.
Yeah.
It's pork barreling. So, let's get the government to, there's something wrong.
Yeah. People who think they're entitled to keep what they earn are being selfish and should just pay their fair share.
I strongly disagree.
Yeah.
Get out and get a job.
Yeah. It is valid to say that contributing our fair share is the price to pay for a civilization.
I'm going to have to say disagree.
Oh, okay.
But because you haven't defined what a fair share is.
I look at fair share as talking about like tax. So
again, I want to talk about what level of tax because every government is changing its tax threshold.
Yeah.
So that needs to be. I mean, I would almost support a user pay.
A user pay,
right?
Huh?
Yeah. So, for example, you want to go to cinema,
Yep.
pay a tax on it. You want to go here, pay a tax on it. If you don't, then don't pay a tax. So you want to go on a road paying it, but get rid of the income tax, get rid of this tax.
Oh.
So you have the right to earn what you have, and that way it's fair. So let's say you're a multi-millionaire. I'm a pastor.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, believe it or not, the shopkeeper or worker will probably pay more tax than you would, because you'll find ways not to pay tax.
Yeah.
But if it's it's user pay, then if we all pay no income tax.
This is an interesting conversation we should have another day, because it's almost like instead of us having income tax, GST is just increased on everything, right?
No, not increased, applied.
Applied, yeah.
Okay, applied.
Yeah.
And then the government's got to work within its budget.
Yeah. See, this is an interesting conversation we should have another day, because this is something I share with you.
Right, because why is it that the average workers are paying more tax than the rich people?
Yeah.
Why is it that Apple can come over here and not pay tax?
Not pay taxes, exactly.
Why does
Apple,
Google come here and not pay tax? So could you imagine if we're getting tax?
Yeah.
So if they want to use our facilities, there has to be a tax that comes to the government. Yeah. They want to use over here, they pay tax.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a problem in the areas. I mean, we pay a wages tax. For me to employ staff, I have to pay a tax to employ you.
Yeah.
How does that figure? Fair enough, do that. Okay, make Google pay, let's pay. But get rid of the income tax.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that way, I don't have to worry about blah, blah, blah. Everyone's paying it. So if you don't use it, don't go.
Yeah.
So I would go for that. Okay, that's pretty controversial, isn't it? That's why I'm a preacher and not in government.
Okay. The budget of political authorities should be balanced by curbing expenditure and not raising revenues. So the classic Democrat versus Republican, LNP versus Labor. Should we increase taxes or lower them?
I just answered it. No, I don't believe in increasing taxes.
Yep.
There are taxes that are just... I talked to you about the luxury car tax.
Yeah.
Where is this money go? Well, of course, they'll tell you something else. There is bad management going on in governments.
Yeah. Big time.
I think we're over government. We've got too much government.
Yeah. Libertarian.
Well, there is too much. Like, look at our council.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when that Logan council was dismissed, which I didn't agree with, they brought in a manager.
Yeah.
It was cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have representation, but it was cheaper.
It was cheaper.
Okay. But can't they somehow either get rid of the state or get rid of the local?
Yeah.
And have some sort of balanced representation?
Yeah.
There's something wrong in the area. We're over-represented.
Yeah.
Now, thank goodness in Queensland we don't have an upper house.
Yeah.
Like the other states. Remember, it was the Labor that got rid of that.
Yeah.
Okay. But was it in the 50s or 40s?
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that we are overrepresented, and
Yes.
they cost us a fortune.
Heaps. All right, next question. People are free to purchase any product or service they wish and should not be forced to pay anything for it.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Strongly.
Oh, let me just make that to strongly. Okay. Free market banking with competition among institutions of all types is preferable to a central bank model.
Yeah, I believe there should be a free market.
Yep. Profits and losses are a burden for society to bear, not the individual making decisions.
Repeat it again.
So, profits and losses are a burden for society to bear, not the individuals making the decisions.
I strongly disagree.
Yep. Individuals who engage in voluntary exchange should be free to use as money as mutual agreeable objects.
Okay, you had too many breaks in that statement, so read it for me.
So, individuals who engage in voluntary exchange should be free to use as money any mutual agreeable object. Yeah, the wording on this isn't very good. So, individuals who engage in voluntary exchange is the act of buyers and sellers engaging in market transactions, which, according to the proponents of the term, happens freely and willingly.
Well, I agree. There should have a free market.
Yeah.
So I believe in a free market.
All right. Inflation. Inflammatory monetary policies and legal tender laws damage the economy and should be abolished. Yeah, some of these economic questions are like, what?
So, I mean, what are we going to rule against inflation?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's talking about. Do you think inflation policy should be?
You can't. That's the free market.
Yeah.
So disagree.
Disagree. It is valid to say that throughout history, money has been the root or most, if not all, evils in the world. I think we don't need to say this. It says in the Bible that it is the love of money which is evil.
That's right. It's the love of money. It's not money.
Yeah, so I'd say strongly disagree.
Yeah, strongly disagree.
Yeah. All right. People have the right to form corporations, cooperatives, and other entities based on voluntary association. Agree?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Private ownership of the means of production is theft and should be owned by the workers instead.
Strongly disagree.
Comrade, what?
Yeah.
Political funded subsidies and bailouts to businesses, labor, and other special interests should be abolished.
I'm going to be neutral.
Neutral, yep. Politically centered entities should be able to compete with private enterprise with any industry.
Political industries compete with private industry.
Politically created entities should be able to compete with private enterprise with any industry. So should the private sector...
I'm going to agree.
Yeah.
Because we've seen that in the banking before, the electricity and all that stuff here. So I think it's good. They're using our tax money to give us something back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Employment agreements should not be encumbered by the social engineering of political authority.
I need more clarification.
So I look at this as like, instead of there being like unions, the government does that.
No, I can't agree.
Yeah. Employers and employees should be required by law to bargain with each other through a labor union now. So
required?
Required.
No.
Yeah. Membership in labor union should be a requirement for obtaining employment. No. Compulsory arbitration and bargaining are necessary to ensure that bosses do not exploit their workers. Okay, compulsory arbitration and bargaining are compulsory.
No, I'm going to say no because I believe in contracts.
Yeah.
So.
Provision of education should be monopolized by political authorities and made available free of charge.
No.
Free market education achieves greater quality, accountability, and efficiently with more...
Agree.
Yeah, agree. Yeah. The education of children is the sole financial responsibility of parents or guardians, not some political authority.
I'm going to go neutral.
Yep.
Let me tell you why. You have public schools and private schools.
Yeah, I like that too. I like that
and
system.
So it should be, but it should be in America. It's different to Australia. In America, you have to pay tax for your local school.
Yeah.
And if you send your kid to a private school, you still have to pay your tax to that local school. I disagree with that.
Yeah.
So I believe that wherever you choose to send your child, those subsidies should be directed towards that school system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Health insurance companies exploit the sick and dying to make a profit and therefore should be regulated by law.
Yes.
Yes. A patient cured is a customer lost. All individuals should be free to determine their level of health insurance they want, if any. Agree?
Well, yes, but I mean, you still got to have, in Australia we have socialized medicine. So you're talking about private medicine.
Oh, no, it's just saying the option. All individuals should be free to determine.
Yeah, sure.
Healthcare is too important to be controlled by political action and should therefore be provided by the market. So this is more like the only by the market idea.
I can't because is this American?
I think the guy who did this is American.
Well, I can't support it because they don't believe in social medicine.
Yeah.
I do. So I'm going to say disagree.
Disagree, yeah.
I can tell this is American. So
Society has a vested interest in preventing loss
of American.
life.
They're probably going to put me out as being some sort of left wing in this area.
We'll see. We're getting to the end. Society has a vested interest in preventing loss of life. Therefore, suicide and euthanasia should be illegal. Neutral, since it's
I don't agree with suicide.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with euthanasia.
Yeah.
But suicide happens.
Yes.
So what are you going to do as punishment? You can't arrest them.
Yeah, they're dead.
So you're going to penalize their family by taking their property or assets. Euthanasia, don't be fooled, it already happens.
Oh, yeah, it does.
It happens here.
Yeah.
I've been in palliative care.
Yeah.
And I've been there where they've stopped feeding the patients.
Yeah.
And they've induced the drugs to make them comfortable.
Yeah.
So for anybody who says it doesn't happen,
It happens.
You're hiding under a log.
Yeah.
It happens already. Yeah. Okay. It just means if you are not in that coma type state,
yes,
you can't take it. So I'm going to go neutral and say.
Okay. Provision of healthcare should be monopolized by political authorities and made available free of charge.
Well, this American.
Yeah, American.
So I'm going neutral. Because I believe that I believe that everybody has the right for medical treatment.
Well, there should be a safety net in society.
But if you want a private room, then you pay for your private health.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, it's like if you don't have private health insurance, you could be like in Houston, like 6 million people, and you only got 1 or 2 hospitals that are public.
Yeah.
It's impossible. The area, except for trauma care, is short. And when you come in there, they got to, you either got it, you go out. No, I'm going to remain neutral.
Yep. All individuals will take responsibility for. Not all individuals will take responsibility for planning their retirement. Therefore, an age pension should be provided. Yep.
Yes.
Politically funded welfare should be replaced with voluntary funded insurance, charity, and mutual aid.
No.
Yeah. No. Most
people that's going to put me the other side.
Look, I don't know. I'm not looking at the results. So we'll see.
I can tell you.
Most people will Most people will not voluntarily help the poor. Therefore, it is incumbent on political authorities to provide welfare.
Yes.
Yes.
Again, that's going to work against me.
Charity and civil society will weaken if political authorities do not have the power to direct such activity.
Well, I agree.
To ensure global stability, political authorities need to form alliances to act as such of a world police.
No.
To ensure the security of a nation, service in the military should be compulsory for all citizens.
No, only in an act of war, declaration of war.
There is no such thing as an inalienable. Yeah. Inalienable right, and they can be suspended during times of war or crisis.
You're gonna have to have more clarification.
So a right that can't be restrained or repealed by human laws, sometimes called natural rights, inalienable rights, flow from our nature as free people.
So what you're saying is that in a time of war, if someone says, I don't feel right about this war, I should have the right to abstain.
Well, I look at this and say, do you think the committing of war crimes is a thing? Like, all right, you take torture. Right. Geneva Convention says that's bad. Using mustard gas, chemical warfare is wrong during times of war.
Well, take it more closer.
Waterboarding?
Yeah, which George W. Bush allowed in to get information. I'm going to go neutral because I just find it's too much of a difficult question.
Yes. Intelligence agencies would not be effective if they were subject to oversight and transparency.
I disagree.
Yeah. I mean, they should be.
There has to
oversight,
be accountability.
Laws that create political secrets which prevent society from knowing the truth should be abolished.
Repeat.
Laws that create political secrets which prevent society from knowing the truth should be abolished.
Yes.
Yep. Foreign policy should seek to keep a nation in a position of strength related to that of other nations.
Yes.
Yep. Foreign policy should favor defense against attack from abroad and avoiding diplomatic entanglements.
Yes.
Foreign interventions, including military and economic aid, are necessary for preserving the security of the nation.
Yes.
All people have the right to resist tyranny and defend themselves, their rights, and the rights of others.
Yes.
Yep. To increase wealth and reduce poverty, all impediments to free trade should be abolished.
All impediments to free trade. So repeat the question.
So to increase wealth and reduce poverty, all impediments to free trade should be abolished.
I'm going to go neutral. There's not enough information.
Political freedom and escape from tyranny require the individuals not to be prevented from crossing political borders.
Well, I agree that we can cross political borders. So.
Yeah. Trade is too important to go unregulated, and should be restricted by some kind of political authority.
I'm going to agree.
Yeah. Economic freedom demands the unrestricted movement of human as well as financial capital across political borders.
You got some doozies, these questions. How many more I got left?
Oh, we're almost at the end. I know I said that. I said 10 questions ago. We're almost at the end. Neutral?
Neutral, yes.
All people, without exception, are born with an inherent right to life, liberty, and property.
Yes. Strongly agree.
Okay, make it strongly. All right. There are some rights can impose an obligation upon other individuals to fulfill that right. This is kind of written a bit weird.
Neutral.
Yep. A law should neither deny nor abridge human rights based upon biological characteristics or personal preferences.
Agree, yeah.
Private organizations can set standards of association, and individuals can respond with ostracism or boycottism.
Yes.
Yep. Parents or other guardians have the right to raise their children according to their own standards and beliefs.
No.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe in blood transfusions.
Oh, really?
That's right, surgeries. So there's been many a case where a child has forcibly received blood transfusions because they would die.
Yeah.
So there still has to be some sort of guideline. So in case Liz is saying, well, how does that work? So like I said, these questions are tricky because, they're tricky because of the religious areas.
Yep. Okay, here's a fun question. Parents should be able to abuse or neglect their children without fear of intervention from anybody. Strongly disagree. Without the state to protect society from the violence of human nature, there would be chaos and disorder.
I agree.
Yep.
Strongly.
It is the right of every individual to resist tyranny and abolish it, replacing it with a system that respects individual rights.
Yes.
Last question. We're here. The state is an inherently immoral institution and should be torn down as soon as possible.
Strongly disagree. Well, Ed, I don't know how exciting this particular session is for our viewers.
Okay, so
and
results.
I'd like to get their response. What they think.
So, this is where the conservatives are. This is where conservative-ish is.
According to this survey, which is done by American conservatives.
Yes. This is where libertarians are. Conservatives, libertarians, Marxists, classical liberals, or, I don't know, extreme liberals, I guess, like Greens. Shaun, you are right here.
Ah, see.
Wait, we can't see your finger.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, maybe that's good.
Oh, sorry. He is right here.
So,
sorry.
In the middle there.
Right, kind of in a little bit to the green area, but you're pretty central. So there's your result if you'd like to look at it.
Culture, I think, yeah. So culture is minus 20.
Yep.
So I don't know what that means. And economic is 7.
Which I kind of knew this because my theory is a lot of
Christians. This is American.
To a degree, yeah, true.
No, not to a degree. This is American.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are things that I disagree with in the Americans. So, for example, they don't see healthcare like I do. So, you haven't seen people, Ed, poor living on the streets until you go into America in a Western civilized world.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there are things there. We have people in our church who are Americans, good people. And I love America, and I love my American friends, and I love their nation, and I love their government. but I don't agree with everything that they do there.
Yeah.
And there are people who go through hardship that suffer immensely. Whereas over here, they disagree with the government support, not these people, America would,
Yes.
but yet it helps the people through. So we have a touch of socialism in us, even though our own government wouldn't use that word, but we do.
However, you got specced as a centralist, which personally, I know a lot of people will say a centrist is a fence sitter and they don't have any political association and they're the worst to talk to. Well, I find that if you're a centrist, you're not being influenced by either the left extreme or right extreme. You can look down the middle and say, what do I like about this? What can I like about this? Without having these eyes of like neoconservatism or Marxism lens. You're looking through it through a very middle of the road so you can look at it equally.
I would love to interview people like Erica, who is an American.
Yeah.
Or if I interviewed Bill and Susie Croto, who are Americans. Yeah. Okay. One is from the mid and one is from the south. Erica is from the south.
Yeehaw.
Bill and Susie are Midwest, up in Michigan. Okay. And, they don't have the unemployment that we have.
Yeah.
They would have, right, Erica, 6 to 12 weeks. It's been extended to even further. But in the normal time, 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yep.
We have it indefinitely. Is it abused? Of course it's abused, but it saves people. We have the Free Medicine Act where they don't have. They have food stamps. We don't do food stamps because we have the food. So there are a lot of areas that we're totally different in.
Yeah.
We have the First Home Buyers Grant.
Yep.
We have 4 weeks annual leave where they would have probably 2 in their first time in the area.
Yep.
So we have a lot of things different. I've lived in the United States. I love my time there. I find Americans some of the most generous people. But if you're not in a position where your employer provides you with the healthcare and everything else, it works against you.
Yeah.
So when I came back to live in Australia, when I lived in America, I had a green card.
Yep.
I was called an alien, a legal alien, maybe like a Martian, which meant I had the right to live there, which would be the equivalent of permanent residency here.
Yeah.
But I had the card. And I was in America. I was living back in Australia as in America. And as I was going through customs when I flew into Los Angeles, the customs agent or officer saw my green card, which I wasn't using because I thought it was null and void because I've been out of the country for too long.
Yep.
He asked me, is that a green card? I said, yes. He asked to see it. I showed it. I said to him, I've been out of the country for several years. I don't believe it's active. He swiped it. It was active.
Oh, wow.
And he said to me, do you want to keep it or do you want to surrender it? And I said, if I could keep it, I can just line up in the Americans. He says, well, because you live in the country, you have to go before a judge, a court.
Oh.
I said, well, don't worry about it. And he said, why would you not want to be living in America? It's the greatest country in the world. And I said, with respect, sir. This is where I got in trouble. But I talked like this.
Yeah.
I said, with respect, sir, I respect the United States and I love this country, but you are not the only country that is great.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I got walked away and put in lockup for 3 hours, okay? And until they did the thing there. That's had to be some years ago. Bill Croto was sitting outside. It is true. You say world police, we already have the world police.
Yeah, it's true. America.
I love America, and I love what they do, and thank God for their help in World War II.
Yes.
If it wasn't for them, we would have had a terrible outcome.
Yes.
I love the United States, and our son was born in America. But there are ideological differences between Australia and the United States.
Yeah.
And so I would like to see this done by Australian.
So there's ABC does one every election, but I don't trust the ABC political compass. There is another one which only comes out at every big election, and it's called I Stand With, and they make their political compasses based on the policy of the region. So
Good work.
So this might be fun to do another time.
I'd like to do it how it comes out with Australia.
With a more of an Australian eyes.
Well, yeah, because anything I would say about free healthcare or anything like that is going to be put down towards socialism.
Like a socialist, yeah.
I know it's going to do. But again, I'd like to... Okay, now you can't hear Erica, all right, because she is our switcher, the lovely Erica, and from Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
She also spent several years, quite a few years, in Redding, California. So she's been on the West Coast as well as in the South, deep South. So Erica, and I have to interpret it to you, you heard my answers. Okay, you're an American, a proud American, so you should be. How different are your views to mine? We can't hear her, can we?
Mostly we fall in the similar, but there's some things I disagree.
So Erica would disagree in some areas. So can you tell me what stands out the most that you disagree with?
Oh, here we go.
I don't want it to be displayed publicly.
Okay, well,
You don't display publicly.
What's one you can display publicly?
Well, what's something you can display? It's probably the one with being able to shoot and kill.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's probably self-defense.
The thing is, like, for me, lots of the words are big, so I don't. There's not. Many
There's a lot of big words in this.
Well, do you believe that medicine should be available for all, no matter what?
Yes. The challenge for me is I don't know how that can work in America.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about how it would or would not work in America. I'm just saying, would you agree?
Yes.
As an individual,
I
yeah.
like how it works.
You like how that works here, okay? Do you agree with our unemployment benefits for as long as they're unemployed?
Yes, I like
You do, because that doesn't happen in America, okay? What's another statement I would have said in that area there? Do you agree with falling pregnant and how our government would pay you for having that child and subsidizing you for having that child? That doesn't happen in America.
I don't necessarily agree because I think people just have kids to get money.
So Erica says she doesn't
hot
agree
take.
with that.
Ooh.
So you're not pregnant.
The Lord only knows.
Okay, that might mean she is.
all right,
Okay.
you heard it
so
here
the fact
first.
of the matter is, we've just had a news release. Okay.
Yeah.
So you couldn't answer that. But wait for it. But the issue is, I wonder if your mother-in-law is listening. Okay. But the issue, but the issue, Erica, is you might not agree with it, but would you accept it?
Of course.
Well, there you go. So as an American, you don't agree with that money, but you'll take it.
Say what I said, that I think people have kids to get money, and I don't think that's right.
Yeah, so people abuse the system. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the people abuse the system in anything we do.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is, because of 10%, 15% who abuse it, should we abolish it for those who benefit?
No.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying in regards to that. What about in regards to the first home buyers grant helping us out?
I think that's great. Cool.
It's cool.
Okay, so you like that, okay?
need to
But
get Erica and
that's a
Mike
bit different
one
there
day.
to what works from America. So there's obviously a main thing that Erica doesn't want to say.
That's okay.
So I'll try and talk to her off air
That's okay.
in the area. But that's part of the whole idea. Okay, what about you, Ed? Is there anything that you would disagree with me on in this particular area?
Yeah, one thing I do disagree with is like medicinal marijuana. I'm pretty keen for that to be legalized. Medicinal, because I'm very
said that.
pro. Well, you also then said the previous one before that medicinal marijuana one, like when we mentioned CBD oil, you said you disagree.
No,
but
I
agreed.
support with CBD oil.
Yeah, well, I take a step further. I reckon recreational marijuana should be legal.
No, I don't agree.
Yeah, see.
No, I strongly disagree. No.
Also, the means of
The
production.
medical
should be
proven
owned.
factor is the number of schizophrenia and everything else.
Yeah.
And I have family connections who have suffered through this area, and those who use it say it don't happen.
Yeah.
But they suffer schizophrenia, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. The amount of things I've seen by mental deterioration.
Yeah.
So you said, what about alcohol? Well, I'm in agreement on there should be some limitations that the alcohol do.
Me too.
Enforce it. So no, I don't agree with that. I believe that, alcohol is used in medicine.
Yeah.
Cough medicine, everything else.
Yeah.
So I believe that it's important, but it's not that someone could just take marijuana at home and not affect the community.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm saying. Like for me, my stance on medicinal marijuana is that it's not just you go to the shops and buy it. It's you want medicinal marijuana, you go to a doctor. You either go to a psych or someone else, and if they
Didn't I say that? That was prescribed to come to the area?
Well, no, like I said, medicinal marijuana, like it's more kind of laxed. But I want to cross between not just CBD oil, like just straight up, like the spray, for example.
So in our men's mentoring program, Ed, is we'd make this statement.
Yeah.
What we can't control, we legalize.
Yeah.
So just because we're finding it hard to control it, biblically we don't legalize it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all of our morals go down.
Yeah.
So if I can't control a standard of, like in the church today, especially we're a large church.
Yeah.
But in some of the mega churches, rather than dealing with certain social aspects that are happening, they're turning a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
Which to me goes back to where, because they can no longer control it, they just legalize it.
Yeah.
Whereas I believe that sometimes the word of God is unpopular and not well liked.
Yeah.
But I stick to it.
Oh,
even
yeah,
though
me
there's
too.
consequences. Yeah. And it's not what Shaun says, it's what the word of God says. I didn't say it, the Bible says it.
Yeah.
Take it up with Christ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't take it up with me, take it up with Christ.
Yeah.
And we live in an area today that doesn't want to deal with things, so we just pass it through.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, a big problem that comes about.
Yeah. Like, personally, I would have loved to have, if I had more time, gone through each of these questions and found, like, if there's biblical support for them. But it's shown to be massive.
So tell me another thing you disagree with. So you believe in recreational marijuana.
I
strongly
But
disagree.
that's the only drug
I have to drug test you.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Do a urine test later.
Yeah.
What else do I find different? I think there was a question you said about. There was a lot of questions where you were kind of in that between, we're not allowing government regulation to the free market. There were some instances where I'm kind of more like government intervention, but it's for a different reason.
See, for me is, I can see some of those questions have ramifications that concern me. So like, there's one element where I don't want government interference in free trade.
Yeah.
But if there's not, people will be hurt.
Yes.
Let me take the example of union versus no union.
Yeah.
So predominantly Christians would be anti-union.
Yeah.
Right? But originally union started with Christian health.
Yeah.
So it happened back in the 1700s.
Yep.
Especially in Europe, where children at the age of 8 and 9 were put into coal mines to dig.
Yep.
They were put in as chimney sweepers because they were small, and they'd die and suffocate. And it was enslaved labor in that area there. Although it wasn't slavery, it was an area. And the rights weren't done, and the rich got richer, and they abused the rights. There was no safety and everything else.
Yep.
And so it was the union, which was Christian-oriented based,
Yep.
predominantly by Roman Catholic at the time, okay, that brought in, there had to be regulations. Now, it has gone to the other extreme. That goes back with Karl Marx and all that into more communistic.
Yeah,
but there
Marxism.
has to be a balance. There has to be protection of rights to employees. There's a balance. So I can't, being an American thing, it'll be almost, with respect, almost completely against the union or against. There has to be a balance in this area. And I have to have compassion for the worker.
Yes.
And also give freedom to the entrepreneur, but there's a balance. And the problem is that you can't just say, I'm against a government regulation. Because if that comes in, it will go to an extreme. Yeah. And so, again, when I talked about free enterprise, and I talk about oil, and you say, well, isn't that contradiction?
Yeah.
Because the oil people is free trade, and they should. Listen. There's got to be things that is classified as basics. Even I think it was, is it Victoria, that's trying to put in restrictions in regards to natural gas. Because we're paying more for our natural gas than Japan. Yeah. Now, the irony is, it's our natural gas. So we mine our natural gas. Yeah. We sell it to Japan. And
we buy
they sell it. Yeah. No. They sell it. Yeah. But they sell it cheaper than us, and it's our gas. Yeah. And we don't have any reserves because we're selling it.
Yeah.
So there has to be some sort of government representation that says this is needed. Now, not in Queensland because we don't need the heating. Yeah. But in Victoria, they need the heating. Yeah. And there's something wrong in that area, and there has to be some sort of thing that's done to balance out the basics. So you've got to work out what is the basic requirement of us. Yeah. Okay, so in foods, there are basic foods that should never be taxed of GST, which would be basic. Bread, milk, I believe, eggs, the basic food that you can live with. Now, I'm not saying steak.
Oh.
No, I'm not saying steak, but basic foods. Yeah. Okay, I'm not saying restaurants.
Yeah.
But basic foods.
Yeah.
That's got to be there. And I believe those basic things for life. So it should be in regards to basic things of life would be, gas, natural gas, fuel, petroleum, gasoline, oil,
Water.
sewage.
Yep.
Okay. Now they got to run it, so I understand that. So there's got to be a thing, but there should be some areas that we get by in the things here, and and if we had an Australian company that mines oil, let them sell it for whatever price they want overseas. But in our own country, there should be some sort of benefit.
Yes.
And I just find out the basic people are suffering.
Yes.
Now you take the United States of America.
Yes.
We pay roughly 4 times more per litre than they do.
Yeah. But they also have natural wells over there.
Yeah, but we also have oil wells,
Okay.
as well, out in the Tasman and other areas.
Yeah.
But I think it was Malcolm Fraser, that made it a ruling. I think it was Malcolm Fraser who made it a ruling that we have to pay the market value from Singapore, not what we get, but what they pay in the world area.
Oh, okay.
Rather than our own benefits.
Yep.
The problem is that again is abused and not filtered. So there are things that aren't done. So let me tell you something.
Yep.
This is the conflict I have as a minister.
Yes.
I am not a businessman.
Yeah.
Although people think I am. So I believe in being, look, in the Jewish history, this is the Jewish, right? And I forget the exact word. There's a Jewish ceremony that happens of every Sabbath, Shabbat.
Yep.
Okay? And what it is, at the beginning and the end, they have this idea of a cup. And it's like a dedication at the end and prayer. And they pour in the wine in the cup. And they fill it up till it overflows. And when it overflows, it runs down. I've got one of these things in my office. And it flows out all these other little cups.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And the whole idea is meant to be, I've worked out what my needs are. So here's my cup. Okay? So this cup being filled works out all of my needs. My bills.
I'll bring it this way a bit. It can't. There we go.
My bills. I'm trying to get the can. So this cup works out to, it's meant to measure all of my bills and profit.
Yeah.
Okay? But then when it overflows, it goes down to these other cups, which means this. Let me not be greedy in my week. This is what I need for the week.
Yep.
And it includes profit. It includes all the areas. Then whatever is over, let me help others, my employees, the poor, the other things here. Although I've already allocated in this cup my tithe, my giving, everything else. It's all done.
Yeah.
So the Bible gives a description in the book of Matthew. It says about the rich farmer who had a silo full of grain.
Yeah.
Now he filled it and he had an overflow. And instead of him distributing, he said, I'll build another silo. And the Lord said, oh, foolish man, today you will give a reckoning to me. So if I just give complete freedom to the entrepreneur, they won't give a rat's about anybody else.
Yeah.
But if I work completely in people's rights, it'll completely stop free enterprise.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of trickle-down economics.
So so as a minister, I have to be a defender of the poor.
Yes.
But also, I want to be fighting for the rights of the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There's a balance.
Yeah.
So that's why I will never look totally onto one side and never totally the other side, but I'd be a defender of the rights.
Which is good.
So if I see injustice in labor, I need to be someone who fights for that person.
Yes.
But again, I need to fight for the cause of the business person having the freedom to move ahead.
Yes.
That's why it's a difficult thing, and that's why perhaps I'm a little bit controversial, and that's why perhaps I might have a different view to you and Miss America over there on the switch. I think we've talked long enough.
Oh, yeah, man.
It has been 90 minutes.
Yeah, we've gone really
90
good.
minutes.
Not good overtime. It's fun.
I really appreciate some feedback on today, whether you be in America or not. And if you are American, just love me, okay? And show grace. We're praying for the elections in America.
Yep, and our own state
That's
election
coming up.
Saturday.
So our state election. And Ed, you and I are going out.
Yeah, we're going out.
We're going to, is it
polls.
South Eagleby?
South Eagleby State School?
South Eagleby State School. We're there in the morning, aren't we?
Yeah,
From
7:30.
Well, it starts
I guess
at 8 through to 11 is our shift.
Yeah, 11 shifts,
Yeah. And where we are, and we'll be honest, okay, ding, 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 we have invested interest, okay? So we are out handing out flyers or how to vote cards.
The Liberal government, LNP.
Well, LNP, but particular, not them, but for Judy Van Manen,
yeah.
who is running for the seat of McAllister, who we support based on, I've known her for over probably 20 years, her and her husband Bert, who is our federal member, and in that area there. So I don't wish curses on anybody sitting there, but I believe in her moral standards. I also want to pray blessings over Andrew Caswell, who is running in the seat of Waterford. And so we're praying his favor in that area. So that's yours. You did a postal vote, right?
Yeah, I did postal vote.
That's a weird one. Okay.
I just did all at home. I didn't have to see anybody.
I went out yesterday with Sandra and my cousin Carol. My mum went on her own. And we did the early vote and did that as well. So these are the things that happen. So it is in Australia. If you don't vote, you get fined.
Yeah, fine. Yep.
In America, I think it's only, Eric, can you help me out? I think it's only 40 to 50% of people vote because it's freedom of choice.
Freedom of choice.
You don't have to vote.
Hey, since our election's been taken place on Halloween, if you don't vote, do you get cursed as well?
with a fine. I believe that those who have been blessed under the cross are no longer being cursed.
Amen.
So I'm free for that area. Well, today's program is different, and it might not seem as spiritual, but it certainly was an interesting discussion.
A great conversation.
A good spiritual one will be this Sunday at church.
Yeah, come to church.
I'll be sharing on the Sunday morning at the 8 a.m. chapel and also at our 9:30 morning worship, and I'll be continuing on the series of small choices.
Is this one called a slow start?
Well, this is called all part of small choices. So come along, be a part of it. It's been a good area, and we'd love to have you be involved in that. We'll be streamlining our 9:30 a.m. service. Did I say
live streaming, not streamlining?
Did I say live streaming?
You said streamlining again.
Okay, I'm sorry. Live streaming our service at the 9:30, and we also have our AGM, which will not be streamed at all, at 11 o'clock for those who are members, and then we'll be also running our markets.
Yes, markets. Come.
Which are 4 p.m. to 6.
Yes, come.
I'll be having mangoes there this time.
Ooh, mangoes.
Mangoes.
Nice.
How far will a man go for a mango? Okay, hopefully far enough to our markets.
Yeah.
You had to think about that, didn't you? So if you'd like to help us out and volunteer to help us to serve, great. Pastor Danny will be having that 50 cents, $1 store. I'll be doing, I got 150 dozen. 150 dozen.
150 times 12?
Extra large eggs.
Dang.
And they're only $2 a dozen.
Whoa.
1 kilo honey is $8. They're 15 at the stores now. So lots of good produce there.
Yeah,
also, there's plenty of food, some arts and craft things there. So come along, come and have a meal, have a coffee, have something to eat. There, be a part of it from 4 to 6.
Yeah, come.
We speak God's blessings over you, God's grace, and we'd love to hear from you. So God's peace be with each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone. See ya. Bye. See ya.